This is my portrait of the dead. Teacher, role model, my friend. It was a few minutes before 2300 hours at the Akron Police Department. The officers sat together in orderly rows, each with their usual partner, quietly making small talk before the roll call began. Charlie Fournier sat next to his partner, Jan Falcone. "Hey, Fournier, what kind of night are we going to have?" asked Falcone. "Well, Falcone, I think we'll start off with a pimp on Howard Street beating up one of his girls. Then we'll slide on over to Cuyahoga Street and take a report from a sweet old lady who just got her Social Security stolen by her drug addict kid for openers," Fournier said, grinning from ear to ear. Fournier asked, "Hey, Falcone, you hungry yet?" "No, what are we eating tonight?" asked Falcone. Charlie grinned and said, "Bananas." Just then the shift commander walked in and the officers rose for inspection. The commander went officer to officer, checking uniforms, weapons, and gear until he reached Fournier. The snickers began as the commander asked, "Fournier, what the hell is that in your holster?" Fournier stoically replied, "A banana, sir." "Where's your service weapon?" barked the commander. "I left it at home, sir," Fournier replied robotically. The commander was red-faced and looked at Fournier incredulously and screamed, "Why is your gun at home?" Fournier, looking sheepish, said, "Well, sir, I was getting dressed for work and I was hungry. Saw a bunch of bananas sitting next to my gun, so I grabbed the bananas and I left the gun." The commander scribbled furiously on a piece of paper and said, "What is that on your tie, officer?" Fournier looked down and said, "A pig, sir." The commander said, "That's against regulations. Why are you wearing a pig on your tie?" Fournier replied, "Sir, do you remember last month when I towed the mayor's car because it was illegally parked? The major said I was a pig, so I wear the pin to remind myself I'm a pig, sir." The other officers in the roll call are howling with laughter as the commander said, "Fournier, I'm going to recommend another month in the radio room for you." Falcone explained, "That was Joe. He had that quick, sarcastic sense of humor. Joe would cut you down with that quick wit and put you in your place," said Falcone. It was always something with Joe, a practical joke, a prank, a verbal lashing. Joe spent more time in the radio room as punishment than police officers did work. Trust me, Joe was my partner for most of my career, and he did all this for a reason. Falcone believes that Charlie did this for his fellow officers. Joe was selfless like that and was in tune with the music. He could sense the mood and provide the gift of laughter when sorely needed. He would always try to add levity and humor to a demanding profession. The pranks he pulled were to divert your attention ever so slightly from a terrible job. In a single shift, we dealt mostly with the worst of the worst. Day in, day out, it was murder, rape, child abuse, you name it, we responded to it. The job was depressing most of the time. The things you would see, the names you were called, the horrible crimes committed against your fellow man took a toll on you, said Falcone. It piled up on you, and you just could not turn it off at times. And you couldn't talk about it, as it was considered a sign of weakness, claimed Falcone. Joe was our only ray of sunshine in a very dark world. Falcone continued, "That was Charlie. He would never admit it, but he spent most of his life serving others. Charlie was born and raised in Akron, received a scholarship to play baseball and attend college. He served his country in Vietnam in the U.S. Navy aboard submarines. I mean, the guy couldn't even swim, but he still went out to sea," remarked Falcone. After the war, he returned to Akron and completed his degree in education at the University of Akron. Said Falcone, Charlie had two passions, music and teaching. He took the first job offered teaching music at Green Township schools. He was in his element, educating young children about music and performance, said Falcone. Sadly, Charlie discovered he couldn't make ends meet teaching and began looking for another job. Charlie always swore he would get back to teaching, but he never did, said Falcone. Falcone reminisced, that was Chaz. He did what he had to do, always. He wasn't teaching, but played drums in a local jazz band, keeping him immersed in the music he loved so much. He still followed the Chicago Cubs and tried to go to spring training every year. Chaz loved to bowl, and we golfed together often, which was another of his passions. Chaz always said it was important to have hobbies and interests outside of the job, as it was the only way to keep your sanity. But, in the end, Chaz lived the police life. All the adrenaline, the sorrow, the disgust, and the thousands of sights burning into your mind, keeping you awake at night, said Falcone. Chaz was my mentor, my teacher, my partner, and my friend, said Falcone as tears began to flow. In late January 1993, we caught a case where some woman's boyfriend beat and raped her 3-year-old daughter. It was one of the most heinous crimes we had seen yet, remarked Falcone. Chaz and I worked day and night on that one and made a case on this guy, said Falcone. Chaz got the flu and wasn't feeling well, made an appointment with the doctor. Chaz never made it to the doctor. He died of a heart attack that day, said Falcone, openly weeping. It wasn't the flu. It was the job that killed him, angrily exclaimed Falcone. It was the culmination of 25 years on the job, explained Falcone. I met Charlie in 1985 when he began dating my Aunt Nancy. I was somewhat puzzled by him because he didn't talk much, but Charlie seemed pleasant enough. We had the sport of baseball in common. Occasionally we talked about the Cubs or the Indians. It was not until I graduated from high school and took an interest in law enforcement that we had any real conversation. Charlie actively tried to discourage me from police work. He would often say, "You have good grades, go to college, discover yourself. Go in the military, travel, get some money for college, and then decide on a career." Charlie often pointed me in the direction of teaching, offering his help getting a job once I got my degree. I would continually ask him about his work and his experiences. He would always reply, "Police work sucks. It's a terrible job and I would not wish it on my sworn enemy." I was not going to be deterred and kept talking about a police career. I drew Charlie out slowly. We began to talk more often about police work. I would try to keep track of crimes in the news that occurred in Akron so we could discuss the cases. I finally wore him down, and he agreed to take me on a couple work shifts as a civilian observer. I was hooked from that point forward. Charlie knew it, and so did I. He began to teach me about police work. I searched around and applied to enter the police academy. Charlie said 90% of this job is dealing with people. So if you treat the people with respect, you'll receive respect in return. Charlie became my teacher, my role model, and my friend, and helped me ready myself for the career in the future that lay ahead of me. The day I was accepted to the police academy, I called Charlie on the telephone. Charlie congratulated me but gave me one final warning. Charlie prophetically said, "If the job out on the streets does not kill you, the stress will. Be careful." The police academy began in January 1993 and I was finally in my element. I felt confident with the passion for police work and Charlie guided me along, I was destined for greatness. In February, 1 month into the police academy, I got a telephone call from my mother saying Charlie was gone. If I could write a letter to Charlie right now, this is what I would say. Dear Charlie, as I sit here and write this letter, I realize 23 years have gone by since you passed. I regret we did not talk as much when you first married my Aunt Nancy. It was only in the last 5 years of your life that we connected. I always enjoyed your quick wit and your sarcasm. You told me that you never wanted to be a role model as it was too much pressure. I also recognize you tried hard to dissuade me from becoming a police officer like you. You attempted to point me in different directions and career paths, even offering your help. You told me all about the terrible hours, the lack of sleep, and the stress of the job. You warned me about the evil people I would encounter and the innocent people I would be unable to help. You warned me the job would strain relationships and divide families. I guess you grew tired of trying to talk me out of it, and you taught me. You taught me how to scan people and talk my way out of a jam. You showed me how to do a difficult job while treating others with dignity and respect. You showed me the pitfalls of the job and the ways to recognize and avoid them. You told me to do the job, but do not lose my soul. I was sitting in the police academy the day you died on duty. You died of a heart attack at the age of 48. I've been a cop for 22 years. I want you to know you were right in most of the things you taught me. I still will use what you taught me today on a daily basis, and it serves me well. Charlie, I think of you often, and your photograph and badge hangs with honor on my office wall. I want you to know that I still have my soul. I know you never wanted to be a role model, but you were the best. And now the pressure is off. I miss you, Brian. Thanks for listening.